Alright, so this week's project we're going to do a monoprinting project with a styrofoam plate. So I'm going to show you how to take a piece of styrofoam and make a cool design like this. Both of these I actually made with the same plate. You can see this design right here. Here's that kind of purple blob shape, and then right here is that green kind of circle shape, and then a whole bunch of dots. So this was printed this way, so it's kind of backwards from that. But so we're just going to use plain old washable Crayola markers, or whatever washable markers you have. We can't use permanent markers for this because it won't transfer, and I'll show you what I mean. We're going to kind of color on it and we're going to stamp it. So this one, you can see I did the same thing. The circle part was the pink. That's kind of not the greatest print, but the circle part was the pink, and then this kind of blob shape was red, and this through here was orange and yellow. So what we're going to do, we're going to print it quite a few times. What we're going to do first is make our plate. So I have I literally have a styrofoam plate. You can't use a paper plate for this. You could use the styrofoam that, like, if you go to the grocery store and you get a tray of meat, you can take the meat after you're done with the styrofoam, wash it well, and you can use that. But just a little piece of styrofoam. It doesn't need to be very big. So I did, what did I do on this one? I did about 3.5 inches, 4 inches. I think I'll go for 4 inches on this one. I'm just going to measure very generally just a 4-inch square. We'll go this way next. If you can't fit a 4-inch square on whatever piece of styrofoam you're doing, just whatever size you can fit is just fine. Doesn't matter how big or small these are. They'll work the same every time. In fact, you could do a cool one if you did maybe a few really small ones. That might look cool. So all I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut out my square. And just to start, I'll kind of just going to kind of cut the bump of the plate off here. Okay. Gives me a better angle to cut at. Okay. So I'm going to cut all of those sides off just so I have a nice even square to make my print on. And I mean, this doesn't even have to be square. You could do it, you could do a circle, you could do a triangle. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just showing you the steps that I did. So now I'm going to use a pen. I think a pen, I think we did this, I think 3rd grade did a project like this year. And we found that if we used a pencil, it made the styrofoam kind of rip. So we used ballpoint pens, and that's the best kind of way to do it. So just any kind of pen. And you're just going to draw a design. And I'm going to kind of focus on the corner. I'll try to stay even on one corner. I'll try to make like a little triangle that goes evenly from the corner. So maybe I'll do that first. And then maybe I'll do a kind of oval shape over here. So when you're drawing on the styrofoam, press down so that you make a little indentation, so that it's like a little bump. If you run your finger over it, it feels like a little bump there. Let me see if I can show you. You can see that it kind of goes in. Oh, and my cat is in the middle of everything again. So it kind of has like a little indentation there. So next, I think I'll just do, I'm just going to keep this simple just for the sake of the video. I'll just do some kind of rays, kind of like a sun. Okay. So once you have this done and you've gone through and you like really press down, make sure that everything is, indented really well. You want a nice deep pen mark. Then you're going to take your washable markers. And I'm actually going to use like a scrap paper to do this. Okay, kind of a placemat. So I have these just regular old markers. Don't use Sharpies, don't use permanent markers, because what we're going to do is we're going to color on this and then we're going to press it onto another piece of paper. If you used a permanent marker, it wouldn't press onto the other paper. So I'm just going to start kind of coloring. When you're doing this, it's helpful to have a little placemat below you, and you just want to move kind of quick because you don't want the markers to dry. You also want to try to keep your fingers out of the markers just so you don't end up, I have markers all over my finger, but try to avoid that a little bit. Maybe I'll do this color here. And some green. And you can kind of mix the colors up too when you're doing it this way. You, the markers, if the colors kind of blend together, you can see the blue and the green kind of blended together there. It looks kind of cool when you do that. And then maybe I'll go dark blue on the corner. Okay, so now I'm ready to print. I have my little styrofoam printing plate all colored in, and now I'm just going to move this over and get the paper I'm going to print on. I also have a paper towel that's wet, so it's not dripping, but it's nice and damp. So all I'm going to do is dampen the spot where I want to print. Now I'm going to try to fit 4 of these squares on here. You don't have to soak it all at once. We can go back and dampen it up a little bit more as we go. But I'm going to start printing, and I think I want this corner to be in the middle. So I'm going to just flip it down like this, and I'm going to press it. And don't move it. Don't slide it around. Once it's in place, it's in place. Take it and you just use your hand to, this is called burnishing. When you're making a print and you really rub it just to make sure that all the markers coming off, this is called burnishing. So when I lift it up now, I have a cool print. Now it looks a little messy because the paper has absorbed some water, but once it dries, all that kind of grayness is going to go away and it'll be bright and beautiful. So now I'm going to go back, and my colors are kind of already there. I just have to brighten them up. This is called mono printing because you can only print each time. You can only print this each time once. Once you print the first time, the markers really run out and you can't get a second print out of it. So that's why they call it mono printing. Mono is a word stem that means one. So you get one print, and then you have to add more ink. And all those little pen marks kind of leave you a guide of where to color in. And then you can see when you print, it leaves white behind because there's no marker there. All right, so next one, just make sure that's nice and wet there. Okay, my blue triangle's there. I want to match up my blue triangle to that one, so I'm just going to turn it, line it up as best I can, close to the edge there, and I'm just going to burnish it again. And now when I lift up, see those triangles kind of match up, which is cool, and I can keep going. So what I would do next is I would color this again. I would print it right here, and then I would print it right here again. So I'd have to color it 2 more times. And that's how you get your prints to look like this. Okay? If you didn't want to do this tiled 4 piece, printing where you turn it every time, that's fine. Even if you just wanted to do a design like this, maybe you could make a bigger design, or maybe you could make a more detailed design and you want to just print it once, that's fine too. I just want you to play around with doing some mono prints. Have fun with this one, guys.